welcome to the My Father Said podcast, where we discuss all things faith, finance, and family. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan. I'm both a father and a son.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert. I'm his dad, and of course I am my father's son.
And today we have a special episode of our podcast where we are going to be talking about our new book, Financial Harmony, Personal Fulfillment. We wrote this book. It was basically a culmination of, you've had, 30 years of experience in this industry. And then on the personal side, you've been in the market for years. Mm-hmm. I've been in the market for years. I've had a few years of experience as well. And so we wrote this book because we really wanted to show how simple it was for people to build wealth over time without becoming a miser, without sacrificing today. And that's kind of the gist of why we wrote the book. Is there anything else? Any other reasons we wrote the book, you think?
Well, so people would buy it.
Yeah. So if you could, let's do that.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't free.
Yeah. Go to Amazon. We have to sell, I think, maybe 2,000 copies just to break even. So, if you don't mind, help us out. The hardback you can get for $24.99. The paperback you can get for $19.99. The Kindle version you can get for $9.99. We would prefer you buy the hardback because the more you buy the hardback, then the sooner we get paid.
But beggars can't be choosers, so
that is
we'll
true.
do what it is.
That is true. No, really, the motivation, my motivation for writing it was kind of selfish. For years, I had been considering penning a book about something, and for the longest time, I thought about writing a book on religion and spiritual matters.
John MacArthur.
Yeah, somebody like him, a Cal Eidemann or Adrian Rogers, some of the great, teachers.
Somebody with Reformed theology.
Yeah, all of them. But I was thinking about that, and the deeper I get into Scripture and the closer I grow to God, what I'm finding out in my maturity in the older age that I have is I'm hesitant to write a spiritual book simply because my opinion might actually infiltrate the actual writing of the book, and my opinion could be wrong. So I kind of shied away from that. Not to say I won't ever do it, but it seems like that's not in the cards at this time. But one thing that is in the cards, obviously, is a book about accumulating wealth, what I think is the proper way and the correct way to accumulate it. And I wanted to do something just to leave a legacy, because, I'm not going to live on this earth forever, and I wanted something that grandkids and great-grands and great-great-grands, if books are even around then, for something that they could refer back to and say, you know what, that was granddad or that was great-granddad or whoever that was involved in that, and that's something that your grands one day would be able to say about you as well. So that was the reason. That's what motivated me to write the book, to go from there. But our audience that we wanted to go to is you out there in podcast land, and we wanted to speak to you and explain to you and share with you that the accumulation of wealth is really quite simple. Ryan mentioned that at the start. He used the word simple, and we didn't rehearse that. And I'm glad to see that you picked up on it. It is actually simple to make and accumulate wealth. But you got to have the proper ingredients. You need some time. Obviously, you need some money to get in there and begin. But the most important thing, and I think this book touches on it, the most important thing is the mindset that is required for any individual out there in the world today who comes from modest means, and they have modest earnings, and they have a modest lifestyle. Those individuals, the most important thing that they've got to have is they've got to have intensity, they've got to have commitment, and they've got to be intentional about pursuing a financial goal.
Right.
And nothing can get in the way of that. And what I have learned over my decades of managing wealth for various clients all across the spectrum, one of the things that I have learned, the successful ones have those ingredients.
Right.
They are intense. They are not passive. Life happens. Rainstorms come. Tornadoes run through. Hurricanes blow things all over the place. But in their objective of pursuing a wealth place, a point that they want to get to, although these obstacles come, they do not let them get in the way. In fact, they overcome them
Right.
because they have decided in advance, I'm going to hit this.
Right.
And that's the most important thing. And this book touches on that, because without that, we can get detoured in a different direction in a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And this book touches on that greatly. So, yeah.
I think from my opinion, the audience that we wrote the book for, this is going to sound like a cop-out, but, anybody in any walk of life, if there is somebody who is just starting out and they don't have much, but they want to have much, there's stuff in this book for them. If there's a person who has accumulated wealth and they are wanting some guidance, there's stuff in the book for that individual. And then there's just people, anybody that wants to be a better version of themselves, there's stuff in there for that. And then, this is faith, finance, and family. The Bible talks more about money than it does any other topic. And so, there's believers out there that want to be good stewards of their money. There's stuff in this book for them. So I think, like you were saying, you've dealt with clients all over the spectrum. People all over the spectrum, I think, could benefit from the book.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the things, too, about our book that we're kind of proud of is there is a proliferation of finance books and retirement planning books and wealth accumulating books and all that all over the place, all across the world today. When I go on Amazon just to see where our book is ranking, and thank you, by the way, we've been out for 3 weeks now, and we've been number 1 for 3 weeks on the new release in the finance section. So thank you, those of you who have already purchased the book. But one of the things that we think makes our book a little bit different, and this is not a knock on anyone else, it's just the direction our book went into. Many of the financial books that are out there, they are giving you what they consider a step-by-step process on how to accumulate things. And that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, we believe that without the proper mindset at the very beginning, without that foundational core of determining who you're going to be and how you're going to do it, then all those steps really don't mean anything, because your chances of sticking with them are going to be slim.
Right.
Just because of that. So we think our book differs just because we start off on the mindset.
Yeah.
We start off on reality and what you've got to do and how you've got to determine, are you a planner or are you an investor? We talk about that in this book, and we don't give you a bunch of charts and how to do sheets or anything like that. We just give you solid information for you to consider, ponder on, and sit back after you've read the book, or each chapter for that matter, and just kind of determine, well, where do you see yourself as it aligns to that particular chapter?
Yeah, I think another thing that this book separates from other financial self-help books or whatever is it's not very technical, right? We're not going in there and talking about funds. We're not going in there and talking about PE ratios or anything like that. We're really and truthfully talking about the mindset, the behaviors, and stuff like that. So yeah, agreeing with what you said, it's not a workbook. It's nothing like that. This is a pretty easy. Anybody can read book. There's not a lot of technical stuff in this book.
Right.
So.
And you're going to also find out in the book, as we've discussed before in our previous podcast, the difference between investors and planners. This book touches on that just a little bit, but in the spirit of full disclosure, this book is really geared towards the person who is the planner, the person who is trying to determine what is the best route to take to get from where they are today to where they want to be. Not that there's anything wrong with the investor mindset, because there's not. But people kind of like myself, I'm a planner. And I like to know that I'm taking the most efficient path to where I'm trying to get to as I possibly can.
Right.
So this book is going to appeal to those individuals and help them determine, hey, how does this book apply to me?
Yeah. I think also, we've talked about this before in some of our podcasts and just conversations we've had that, there's more to life than money, and, you can't take it with you. And so some of the conversations we've had with our, older clients or clients with grown kids is, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? What do you want to leave besides wealth? And so we've got stuff in there about the book as well. So again, if you are just starting out, if you are a planner, if you are in the messy middle trying to do this stuff, or you're at the very end and you're trying to figure out, hey, what exactly do I want to leave and why do I want to leave that to my kids? We've got something in there about that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So we talk about the habits that a person should have when it comes to pursuing wealth. We discuss the dangers of the media and how the media can throw you off course. We discussed the dangers of comparing portfolios with your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, or your neighbor across the fence, and why. We discussed the various get-rich schemes, or to get rich fast, I would say, not schemes, but get rich fast, how that's not possible at all. We discuss things of this nature just to try to help people realize that we live in America, and in this country of capitalism, which is the greatest system ever devised by man. We believe that every American who is walking on the face of this planet now can achieve financial prosperity if they want it bad enough. And the good thing about it is you can do it legally. You don't have to rob a bank or rob a person,
Right.
Or kill off a rich uncle. You can make certain that if you follow the precepts and the concepts that are inside this book, we can't guarantee things when it comes to finances, but what we can tell you is your chances of accumulating your objective are significantly enhanced.
Yeah.
If you follow these.
Yeah, and going back to that word we were using, it is simple. The habits that we've seen, the behaviors that we've seen, they're very simple. We're not reinventing the wheel here. One of the things that we talk about is how important it is to just start. If you can start younger, that's great. If you have to start later on, that's fine. Just starting. So, as you read through the book, we're going to show different things on how to, accumulate that wealth. But they are all very, I hate to say it almost, they're very just basic rules, right? Basic steps, how to do it. It's very simple.
Yeah,
So
it is. It is. Again, we're excited about the book. It's been moving very well on Amazon, and we haven't really done a lot of promotion as of yet. So we're humbled by that fact that somebody would actually want to read something that we have authored. So again, I'm still having trouble finding the words to express the appreciation for that. But as we think about the book and what we wanted to do with it, sometimes I think it was in an earlier podcast, probably the very first podcast that we did here with producer Scott in the background over there, where I had to share my personal story and how it shaped my approach to financial management and wealth building. And I recall telling that story, and what I said in there is, Mom and Dad did not have a lot of money. We were not in poverty.
right.
But poverty wasn't too far away from us. And one financial mishap, we would have been in poverty. And I know this looking back today. I didn't know it then because that's the only life I knew. And the people who lived around us weren't much different.
Right.
So somewhere along the line, and I chuckle about this, that's back when you'd come home after school and they would have these sitcoms on television. That's back when you had ABC, NBC, and CBS. Only 3 channels.
Yeah.
It wasn't 3,000 channels like it is today. And I can remember I would watch shows like Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
There'd be shows like Green Acres. And then one particular show that came on every day was the Beverly Hillbillies. And the Beverly Hillbillies, it was a funny show. It really was, and I hate that today's generation does not get to appreciate shows like that. But it was nothing but a bunch of people from the mountains somewhere. Jed somehow with his rifle shotgun shot into the ground and oil came up. Now, mind you, that's an impossibility.
Right.
All right.
Sure.
But he shot into the ground and oil came up, and the next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire.
Yep.
And off to Beverly Hillbillies they went. And it was funny because here's these hillbillies. They were the epitome of poverty. And now they're living in a mansion. And I never caught on this very early on, but in that television program, for the people who can relate to this, for the longest time when the Beverly Hillbillies moved into the mansion, they never went to the second floor because they thought somebody else lived on the second floor, not realizing the whole mansion was theirs. And then, of course, they had a concrete pond out back that was a swimming pool, and that's where Granny would wash the clothes, in the concrete pond. And it took the longest time, but I remember saying with Mom one day, I was helping her make brownies so Daddy could go sell them at the plant where he worked at to try to bring in some extra money. Mm-hmm. I remember saying to her very vividly that, Mama, when I grow up, I'm going to be a millionaire. I had no idea what a millionaire was. No, I couldn't tell her or you or anybody else at that time what a millionaire was.
Right.
All I knew is that the Beverly Hillbillies were no longer living in a shack. They were living in a nice house, and the yards were clean, and they had a concrete pond,
Yep.
and everything just looked so cozy, and they were so happy and content in their house that they were in. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get that one day.
Yeah.
Not realizing. So that created an impression upon me, and that has stayed with me through the entirety of my life.
Yeah, and not to give everything away in the book, but I'm glad you brought that up, because we also go in there and we talk about how, like, you can make a decision and how that's going to affect generations to come. Like, you grew up near poverty. I did not. And it was because you made a decision long before me and Ethan were here of how you were going to do things and what you wanted in life. And because of that, I had a great childhood. It was not near poverty, and now here I am as a father with two little girls. Their life is going to be different than mine because of, like, the behaviors, the mindset, the habits, everything that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So that's really a lot about our book. I would say that if there's one takeaway from the book that we would like you, our listeners, to remember when you're managing your finances, it's kind of what Ryan started off with. It really is simple, and I know that's taboo in the financial markets because, you would think that financial advisors as ourselves want you to feel you must rely on us and our expertise. You will find out that in a real financial advisor relationship, you're not trusting us blindly. You're partnering with us as we get to know you, you get to know us, and we're pursuing your aspirations together. But the key takeaway I want you to recognize is financial wealth and accumulating wealth is simple, provided you get the right and proper mindset at the very beginning. Without that mindset, I promise you, because experience has showed me this, every time the winds change, the markets are going to go berserk. Right now, we were talking about it before the podcast came on, with President Trump and his tariffs are on today, they're off tomorrow, they're on the next day, they're off tomorrow. The markets are up 500 today, down 600 tomorrow,
Yeah.
up 700 the next day. I mean, it's all over the place. Things like that are going to be unsettling, but they're to be expected. And without a foundation, a financial approach that is founded in a philosophy that you have bought into and that you understand and you're pursuing, without that, your chances of having this simple path to accumulation is going to be extremely difficult. That's what the book addresses. So if you're interested in learning more about how Ryan and I approach managing client assets, how Ryan and I approach managing our very own assets. It's all right here in this book, and truly, it's simple. It's almost a sin. It's so simple. But again, chapter 1, chapter 2, they all begins with how we think,
Right.
what our mindset is, and it begins with that because that's the foundation.
Yeah.
You skip that, your chances of having success in the pursuit of long-term financial gain is going to be slim. But with the right mindset, it's simple.
Yeah, yeah. And to leave you with one last thing about the book, if you've listened to our podcast for a long time, or maybe this is the first time you're listening to it, in the book we have got QR codes that link to other episodes that are specific to that chapter. So if you've listened to us before, you've heard all of our episodes, or you've never heard it and you're checking out the book, feel free to listen to those podcasts as well. We just dive in a little bit deeper about whatever that topic is. So with that,
One final thing, if I can. I almost forgot. If you are kind enough to go out and purchase our book, if you want us to sign it, run by the office, and Ryan can sign it. I will tell you now, you can't read his writing, so you could probably just scribble at your house and tell everybody it was Ryan. But really, one thing we would ask of you to do, if you can get the book on Amazon. After you've read it, if you'll go shoot us a review, what I've learned is that reviews is what Amazon looks at to push your book toward the top whenever people go looking for financial things.
Right.
So reviews help out greatly. So if you would do that, we would be greatly appreciative of it. It's a great book to buy, to give people who are graduating college, people who are getting married, people who have significant life changes. It's just a great book to give people. So
Yeah.
I would tell you to, reach out on a limb and do that for us.
Yeah. And this has been another episode of the My Father Said podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm Robert.
We'll see you next time.
Later.
The opinions voiced in this video are for general information only and are not specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance reference is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful.